I'm Reverend Phil, and I'm your host for Words of the Prophets. Where are our prophets now? Where are those messages God chooses to communicate divine revelation through? In the past, the Creator has sent prophets like Abraham, Siddhartha, Jesus, Muhammad, and many more. Maybe our higher power has switched tactics since we reinterpret God's words as soon as the Creator's prophets leave us. Could it be that Spirit talks to each one of us individually and we haven't learned to listen? On Words of the Prophets, our modern prophets show us how to find the internal prophet that is the I Am, and we discuss the application of spiritual principles in all aspects of our lives. Love and light, everybody. I'm Reverend Phil, and I'm your host for Words of the Prophets. Today, my guest is Reverend Pablo Flores. Welcome.
How you doing there, Reverend Phil?
Glad to have you.
Nice to be here.
We're going to have an amazing show today for you folks. Today's prophetic topic is Be Ye Transformed. Our topic comes from the Epistle of Paul, the Apostle to the Romans, the King James Version, chapter 12, verse 2. The complete chapter reads as follows: And be not conformed to this world. Be ye transformed by the renewing of your mind, that ye may prove what is that good and acceptable and perfect will of God. And today the show is going to be about transformation, and it's going to be about a little something else too, which to me is the future of religion. Spirituality is not in the big buildings with all the big congregations. It's not with the, all these bells and whistles. It's about meeting people where they are and carrying a message to a handful who carries their messages, which is basically going back to what the original intent of Jesus was. So,
great.
You wanted to read something, and then you want to tell us how you became a minister?
You know what? You just read the scripture that I had in my mind to read. I'd like to start by telling a little story. I'm going to tell a story about a 6-year-old boy that he would gather around like on a Friday night and see his dad and mom gather with some friends, and they'd all gather around in the living room. But in the middle of the living room, there would be some alcohol. There would be a lot of stuff there. The elders, all the adults would be talking, and this little boy wanted the attention of his dad. So the little boy remembers that he went and crawled behind his father, and he fell asleep. Well, when he fell asleep, the elders, he recalls while he was sleeping that they were running out of booze. So the adults started talking, well, what do we do with the kids? And one of them said, well, let's just leave him here. We're just going down to the corner store to get some booze. So they leave all the kids there, and I recall that they put this knife to lock in the children in the house. Well, this little boy got his own chair, his own knife, and pushed the other knife out and got out. That little boy was Pablo Flores. And at 6 years old, I saw my first sirens of a police. He picked me up crossing the railroad tracks in Center, Colorado. And really, Reverend Phil, that was the first time that I looked back and see these lights, just those red, and white and blue lights. It just did something to my heart as a little boy, not realizing that I would see that many times before in my life. And that was, so the transformation, that was just a little entry into my life. The transformation came when I had coming out of a rehabilitation center. And I went to go plead with my wife to take me back. Okay?
Let me back up on this for a second.
Sure.
Transformation goes both ways.
Right.
So would it be fair to say that you started off as a spirit, as a soul, transformed into something, and then as we're getting into this story, you're transforming back again?
Transforming all over again.
Yes.
Transforming all over again.
Returning to what we once were.
Right. And this is where he wants me to be right at this point in my life. And as I was saying, I came out of a rehabilitation center and went to go plead with my wife. And I knew that I had to go get $20 to buy some groceries and buy me a six-pack. And I figured that if I could put the six-pack in the ditch and take some groceries to my wife, that I would make her happy. And every once in a while, I'd slip outside and take a shot. You know, that was the old stinking thinking, I call it, you know. But what happened at that point is that nobody would lend me money in town to house. But somebody guided me to a little mission called the Open Door. And there was this brother there by the name of Peter Bradford. And he was giving away food. So now it got better. Because if I could borrow $20, I could buy a bag and a six-pack and take free food to the house. So this guy started preaching to me. And being from a heavy background, I didn't like people to preach to me. So I got kind of angry with him and told him, don't preach to me. And he said, no, have a cup of coffee. We did this about 2 or 3 times, back and forth, until he finally, I finally told him, I got mad and I told him, you know what? Don't tell me about God. I know about God. And he says, really? Well, what do you know? And I told him, well, I know that Jesus died on the cross for me. He says, that's right. I told him, I know he's coming back again. He said, that's right. And I told him, I know he's the Son of God. And he says, that's right. You know about God, but you don't know God. And I said, well, how do I know God? And that was the question. And that afternoon, all I did was a simple prayer I called a spiritual awakening from within. We all have it. It's a simple prayer of accepting the spirit that's out there and asking it to come and change us. And when I did that afternoon, Brother Phil, I went outside, and for the first time in my life, the wind went through my body. I saw the flowers. They were blooming. I hated pretty things because anything that was pretty I would kill, hurt, damage. So that afternoon when I did that and I went outside, I forgot about the food, forgot about everything, and the transformation started happening in my mind, in my heart, and my actions.
Did it take right away, or did it have to get renewed a few times?
Oh, you know what? It's a renewal every day. But that certain type, it didn't, what happened right away was the immediate jolt of that something has to change. If I continue living the way I am, I'm going to kill myself. I'm going to kill somebody. And really realizing, looking back now, I didn't know who I was hurting. I was hurting a lot more people than myself. There's a lot of, there's a lot of what I call users, drug addicts, alcoholics, which I'm one. I'm a recovering drug addict and alcoholic. And there's a lot of people out there right now that are going through this, and my message to them is, you know what? We can get rid of that. And by this, I mean, I used to wake up in the morning and have my hand built like this. If that wasn't a beer there 24/7, I wasn't happy. And I thought I could never get rid of it, And the transformation did take a couple of times, and it's still taking time to what he wants us to be.
Yeah, I mean, there's a journey, but there's I guess the question I was asking is, there comes a point, because I'm also a recovering drug addict and alcoholic, and there comes a point where no matter what, you're not going to pick up.
Right.
Then once you've established that, then there's that growth. Then God works with you and presents you what you need.
That's beautiful, isn't it? That feeling right there.
Yes.
And you don't have to pick it up anymore.
Yes.
That is the beautiful transformation. Yeah, it did take me a while, because what happened is that, in the little small town of Arroz Seco where I was born and raised, I went back directly to my friends. And you know what happens at that point.
Yeah.
I get introduced again. So I straddled the fence. I do real good, and I say, you know what, I'm going to change. Then I change, and all of a sudden, as soon as I meet my friends, go back, start using again. So it didn't really happen, It didn't really happen till about, I'd say 4 years after, when I was caught by a state police. I passed the state police trooper doing 95 miles an hour, and there was only 2 cars in front of me, 2 lights, and there was a state trooper, had a 64 Chevy. And I decided I was running late to the bar that one night. This was, got to remember, this was after I was studying the Word of God. I really loved it. I wanted it in my heart, but I hadn't made that full determination. In other words, I wasn't totally transformed yet. Yeah. And you know what I'm talking about. It wasn't there yet. I really had to, my mind and my heart had to make a choice at one point. No more. This is enough. This is enough already.
There was a psychic who was very instrumental in my getting clean. When I say a psychic, he was he had already passed. This was,
Oh,
and
okay.
he was documented. He had like 14,500 readings. His name was Edgar Casey. And I came across, I was also playing the same game, you know, and it was like, I could just smoke a little pot.
Right.
You know,
right.
that kind of stuff.
Right.
Yeah, and there was this reading, because my second wife was very much into him and his, you know, they had books on his readings and everything. And I came across this one reading. He was doing a reading for an alcoholic. And basically what he said was, if you want to connect to God, you can't clog the channels. And he went on to,
That
you know,
was-
like drinking is clogging the channels.
That's right.
And I said, okay, it's not only alcohol. Yeah, I can't just keep smoking pot either.
That's the same thing.
You know, and yeah,
Clogging the channels.
yes. I mean, how God has to flow through us.
And we do it with all different aspects of life.
Anger, lust, exactly.
There's all different aspects of life that we clog the channels.
Well, we need to have some coping mechanisms for a while. I mean,
That's-
for me,
that's
the
right.
program, you know, didn't kick in right away. So
That's right.
finding less destructive mechanisms to get through life with,
It's amazing, isn't it?
yeah.
It's amazing. You know, if it would have been for my wife, I've been with my wife 34 years. Her name is Nadine.
She's got to be a saint.
She's a saint.
Putting up with you for 34 years?
Through all the garbage.
That's what I'm saying.
I would have kicked myself out a long time.
Well, I mean, you've met Linda. She's my third wife, you know. You know?
No, it's amazing. No, Nadine has been the backbone of my life. You know, she never smoked, she never drank, and I didn't force it on her. I tried, but she would always say no, that enough is enough. You know, but it's amazing how now she's you know, she's reaping what she sowed, and she sowed love into me. She saw something that nobody else did, except my Lord Jesus Christ, and He did the same thing for me. He showed that love for me that nobody else had. You know, because I was considered menace to society. Nobody wanted me. You know, my family didn't want me around because I would rip them off.
Yeah.
Police didn't want me around, you know, because I was always getting into trouble. You know, taking abuse by my employers. Court committed. Some of my employers would have to feed me a tab of abuse every morning just in order for me to function for that day. So I wouldn't leave into the world of alcoholism and drugs. So I wouldn't leave back out.
And one of the things my recovery has taught me, which has really, I think, majorly impacted my ministry and how I see God. One of the reasons why I do this show.
Mm-hmm.
God never judged me.
Right, exactly.
There were instances.
Exactly.
I got clean in the 12-step program. And the second step is about introducing yourself to a power greater than yourself. Like, we came to believe that a power greater than myself
That's right.
could restore me to sanity. So my first reaction was, that's impossible. My second reaction was that you were talking about this guy talking to you about God. When I was out there using, and somebody would talk to me about God, you keep your God, I keep my dope, and we'll both be happy.
And we're both doing all right.
Yeah. You know,
I know.
This coming to believe, I was guided to it with a simple question that basically said, were there ever times, in spite of my best thinking, feeling, and actions, that the consequences were not as severe as they should or could have been?
Oh, wow.
And there were so many times that I should have been in jail. I mean, you know, and it was the legal term, preponderance of evidence.
Ah.
And it led me to believe that even when I didn't believe in God, God believed in me and was
Yes.
watching out for me.
He always does.
You know,
doesn't
so
he?
it was no judgment, because didn't even need to be forgiven because I wasn't even being judged.
Mm-hmm.
And that was just like, wow.
It's amazing. It's amazing. The transformation is, you know, and right now, you know, it's amazing because I can be able to do things what He wanted me to do from the beginning, but I was closing those channels, like you were saying,
Yeah.
and blocking my life up. But to me, you know, for some reason or another, I had to go through that in order to be where I'm at now, so I can bring out the stuff that's coming out of me now, so I can look back and say, you know what, I don't want that no more. I don't want be part of that no more.
So was there ever an event that really like just pushed you over the edge and said, "No, I'm really fully committed"?
Oh yeah, oh yeah. There was an event.
Want to share that?
Sure. The event was that night that I'm telling you about the police officer. I passed a police officer, and I had been serving, and I loved God, but I had been falling into a trap of binge drinking. So I'd be real good for 11 months, then one weekend, I'm out. Nobody will find me or see me. So this one weekend, I went to my small town of Arroz Seco and did a binge. Then late in the evening, I was going back home, and I came to the crossroads. If I went right, there was a bar about 8 miles out. If I went left, I would go home to my wife and my children. Well, I chose right.
The car had a mind of its own.
Right, the car just drove like that. Yeah. So I'm headed, and I'm thinking, well, it's 9:30 at night. I better hurry up before they close the bar. So I'm speeding. I had, like I said, a 64 Chevy with a 327. And there's 2 lights way out there in front of me, and I can pass that guy. So I hit it. I'm doing 70 miles an hour, and when I punched it, the 64 Chevy lifted up, zoomed, and I was at 95 real quick, and there was a state trooper. So I just passed him, and then at the bottom, I don't know if you're familiar with Arroyo Hondo up in Taos, at the bottom of the hill, there's a real sharp turn, and there's some crosses there. Well, for
people who didn't make the turn.
That's right. So that was my thought. Here I am doing almost 100, getting ready to go down this hill and hit that turn. Well, I decided to stop. He decided to stop me. I didn't decide nothing because I didn't know how to decide nothing. My drunken stupor. Well, when I did stop, the police got off his car and just grabbed me, put me on the hood of the car. You're a menace to society. That whole game all over again. So he took me to jail, and at the jail, Brother Phil, this man came in again with the Bible, preaching to me again. And here I am, half drunk, and this man comes in, and he gives me...
The same guy from the food pantry?
No, a different person.
Oh, okay.
A different person, yeah. See, God always sends different people in our paths. Well, anyway, I told him again, I don't want to hear about God because I was mad at God because I got busted. I was mad at God because I had gone out drinking again. I was mad at God, because just all these things in my life. So he gave me a little Bible, and I turned around and I threw it across the cell. And when it hit the cell wall, it came on the wall, and I came on my knees. And I decided at that point, if you're really out there, please change me. Because I do not want to go through this again. It's the same old routine. Being Mr. Goody Two-Shoes and then being the devil the following weekend. That was my life, it seemed, and I did it for a good while. And that night, Phil, you know what? I really believe that it was the Spirit of God telling me, be honest with me. Don't give me a repetitious prayer here, how you want to thank me. Be real with me.
Yes.
Tell me what's really in your heart.
Yes.
And that's what we need to do. In order for us to really get the communication with the Spirit of God, we have to be for real, and it's called a breaking down. We need to break down from in here and give it up. And once we do that, he already knows if it's true or false anyway. He knows the hair on our heads.
I really believe it's getting honest with ourselves. We can't lie to God. We got to get honest with ourselves.
It's us.
Exactly.
We're our worst enemy.
That's why I was number 1 on my amends list.
You were number 1 on your list.
On the amends list, which is the 8th step. Who did I hurt the most? I hurt me the most. I hurt a lot of people, but
us.
As a good friend of mine would say, man, if anybody did to me what I did to myself, I'd have to kill them.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. Yeah. No, we did some horrible stuff to ourselves.
So there's a couple of good stories I'd like you to share with the people watching. You have an Egypt story.
I have an Egypt story. Jerusalem. October 24th, 1995. I used to play music at this gathering up in Eagle Nest for brother James Bigby. And 1995, he came up to me after the 4th of July. It was every 4th of July. We'd do up there, get a gathering, get music, food, and stay there for the whole weekend, go fishing, and, just enjoy a real wholesome life with other brothers and sisters and the children, the kids growing around. Well, he comes up to me and he says, I want you to come and play for me in October. This was in July. and he says, you'll be getting some tickets in the mail. I said, great. I'm going to Albuquerque. I get to go to Albuquerque and go play for him. And I asked him, where am I going to meet you? And he says, I'm going to meet you in Cairo, Egypt. And I said, where? He says, Cairo, Egypt. I said, oh, man, I got to think about this, you know. So anyway, everything said and done, I accepted, and he sent me tickets, and I got on an airplane to Cairo, Egypt on October 24th. Went to Albuquerque. From Albuquerque to Dallas, from Dallas to New York, from New York to Tel Aviv. From Tel Aviv, I got questioned for 3.5 hours in customs. I had short hair. They lost my luggage in Dallas. I didn't have no luggage. I had a guitar, so I must have looked like a terrorist or something because I got 3.5 hours of interrogation, brother, before I could get in an airplane to go to Egypt, where I was meeting Brother James. Well, anyway, when I'm in, all that happened, you know, and 9 people came in and interrogated me. And finally, the 8th person that interrogated me, I lifted up my hands and I said, God, you brought me all the way over here to be put in a dungeon, so be it. There again, giving it over to him.
Surrender.
Right. We always want to be in control. There again. You know, I'm going to fight these guys, you know. But no, once I told him, so be it. If you brought me all the way over here to be thrown in a dungeon, so be it. And this lady comes out and says, welcome to our country. So I get in a plane to Cairo. I meet the party over there. And my job was to play for Barry Smith. He was an end-time prophet. He's already gone with the Lord now. And my job was to play worship every half hour, every evening for 17 days. And it was amazing. I went up there and, 5-star everything, eating everything in sight. But when we came to Mount Sinai, there was an African brother. We came to Mount Sinai before we go to where Moses accepted the 10 Commandments, got the 10 Commandments, and there was a Sea of Aqaba. And there was a little restaurant there before we went to Mount Sinai, and this brother looked at me, and we go both like that. We go, let's go swimming. And I said, yeah. So we let everybody off the bus, and me and him stayed behind. We put our swimming trunks on, and we went out to the Sea of Aqaba, and we jumped in. I swam like maybe 30, 40 feet out, not even that much. And I looked down to the ground. I said, I wonder how deep it is here, you know, and not realizing that when I stood up, there was a school of sea urchins, poisonous sea urchins. So I stood up, and the water came up to about chest high, and I stepped on one. And believe me, that stung. So I came out of there, and the brother's sister, she got tweezers, and they pulled out these poisonous spines out of my foot. And that night, I was fading out. I mean, the lights were blacking out on me, and I said, there again, God, I'm in Mount Sinai now, where Moses accepted the 10 Commandments. If you brought me here to kill me, so be it. So I asked the elders of the church. There was about 75 Australians, and they came and they laid hands on me, and God healed me that night. When I got to Jerusalem, I fell sick again from eating too much figs and dates. Well, you got to remember, when I opened this double doors at the Renaissance Motel in Tel Aviv, there's all these tables full of different food. And I'm a little boy from Arroz Seco. I want to eat everything inside. So I did, and I got sick. So I stayed in my motel room one day, and it was about 1:30 in the afternoon, and I locked my door, and I fell asleep. I was ill. But when I woke up, there was an envelope in my desk, in the motel rooms, with 1,000 shekels. And I had been praying for some finances. So somebody went in there and put an envelope with my name on it with 1,000 shekels. I ran downstairs, and I turned it into American money. It was $330 American money. Ran back upstairs, looked outside to the old city, Jerusalem, looked to the corner, and there was my guitar. Picked it up, and a song was born right there and then called "O Jerusalem." And I sang that in my first CD, which was about 10 or 12 years ago.
Very cool.
That's the story of Egypt. It's amazing.
When we get out of the way, lots of amazing things happen.
Well, look what's happening now, just by meeting you. When we get out of the way.
Yes.
God sent your wife.
Exactly.
God sent your wife to go and purchase one of my art pieces, and there's where it was born, and it's amazing. And then look at, just everything falls into place. when we let him.
Before we get into the art,
Okay.
one other thing I'd like to touch on, because it's not only about getting, it's about giving. And you had formed and are reforming again a Jesus Gang. You want to talk a little bit about that?
Sure. The Jesus Gang, this must have been early 1990s. And there was a local newspaper in Taos that this young man had been stabbed in the stomach. And around that time, my son would have been the same age as this young man that got stabbed. So that night I went to bed thinking of this young man that had been stabbed, thinking that could have been my son at any time. That's around 1990. And I had a vision that night of a black T-shirt with a red cross, 7 drops of blood off this cross, and on the top of the cross it said Jesus Gang. So I woke up in the morning and I told my wife about it, and she tells me, well, go make one. And I said, go make what? She said, go make a T-shirt. You dreamt about it last night, go have it made. I did. I went and had some made, not just one. I had a couple of them made, not knowing what was being born. And then after I made the shirts, I went into the plaza on a Friday evening with the shirts on my seat of the car, and there was a group of young kids, different ages, 5, 6, all the way to teenagers. And I called them over and I said, what do you want? I said, look, how do you like this shirt? Oh, it's beautiful. What are you doing with it? What is it? And I'm going, it's the Jesus Gang. You guys want to join? They said, yeah, we want to join. So all these kids, I'm a medium, I'm a small, so I gave them these shirts. And then they said, well, what do we do now? I said, well, get in the car with me. We're going down to the local church, and we're going to start looking at his word. And that's what happened, brother. For the next 2 years, I had up to 37 gang members in our home. People would tell us, you guys are crazy. Those gangs are from BTS, those gangs are from whatever, whatever name they call them. All they wanted was respect. That's what they wanted. And in order for us to reach out, a lot of these young kids, all they want is respect. But in order to get respect, you have to give respect. So when I talk with these kids in the street, I respect them as human beings for what they are. And I expect that respect back. So right now, here it is, 20 years after. The Jesus Gang lasted for about 3 years, ran out of finances, killed 2 cars. One incident, about 12 Jesus Gang kids pushed our car to the church because we ran out of gas. They pushed the station wagon to the church because we ran out of gas. And we helped a lot of young kids. Some of these kids, they come up to me now. Some of them made it, some of them didn't. I have one that is in prison. I have another one that has 3 beautiful daughters that was the worst of the Jesus Gang. And now he calls me and tells me, Pablo, if you wouldn't have told me about God, I'd be dead. And now his daughter is in trouble. So January of 2011, we're starting Jesus Gang 2. January of 2012. We're starting Jesus Gang 2.
Good.
So that's going to be amazing.
Beautiful. I want to do a little segue here. You've talked about music, but there's another aspect to your ministry I'd like to address first. Then we're going to do some music later on.
Okay.
You create art.
Yes.
And some very incredible stuff. But I want to quote you in one of the articles. Art mirrors the evolution of life, and you call it transformations, found expressions of the sacred.
Right.
So we're going to get into that, but what I'd like to do is we have about a 3.5 minute or so little video that shows some of your art. We're going to roll that, and then we'll come back and talk a little bit about it.
Okay, that sounds good, Phil.
Excellent.
These are 2 other ones of my sculptures. I'm outdoors at my shop in Ranchitos de Taos. This is a cabinet made from a 1941 Cadillac, hood of a Cadillac. And what you see here is the hood, and it has 2 doors with shelves on the inside, and we have Our Lady of Guadalupe painted on it, Native American version. This here is a sculpture that I call high pressure. This is different forms of wood that have been cut out, different found objects that have been placed here. You could see the crosses. You could see the turquoise. The turquoise in the New Mexico sun is just amazing. When you see old houses with the old frames and the windows with the turquoise color, it just brings something to the New Mexico character, to Taos, New Mexico and surrounding areas. And as you can see here, again, there's a bicycle front here. There's just all kinds of found art that I have been working on, and it has been a pleasure. Thank you.
Hi, I met Pablo when he came into my shop and was selling primitive crosses. We became friends. I bought any number of his crosses because I love them. And one day I said, you know, you need to see my place because we're fellow junkers. Pablo came over to my house, saw all my...
Honorable mention, and it's just amazing. This is the Corn Maiden, made from actual corn. A lot of...
I wanted him to have, but all of a sudden they're in the art, and it was a well-spent effort. So it's a fun shop, and you know, let's just kind of walk through it.
Right now, it's close to the Day of the Dead, close to October. On this table here is the new items that have just been coming out. This is this week's inspiration. And here is a cross with the skull figure. This San Esteban. This is one of my favorites, and this is, I call her Doña Juana. She is the sweeper. She is the housewife sweeper, Doña Juana. This one here that Melissa's holding, this is one of my Native American pieces with his lance and the feathers, but the body itself is off an old lamp.
I see that, a light fixture. And what's this piece? This is very cool.
From those pieces of metal. The old pieces of metal. And I'd really like to focus back here on this wall. This wall over here, this is new
Cyber cross.
Cybercross. With the old computers, with the motherboards, turned into something with the old. We decided to mix the new and the old rust. Here is a bug over here. This bug is a representation of Texas.
This is our Texas bug.
That's our Texas bug. And you can see he's got a gun, Texas plates, the star for the... I mean, as you can see this space, it's pretty big, pretty spacious. Here again is our bugs. I'd like to show you this. This is made out of bottle caps, and it's two fishes. It's one fish going up and one across, and this is called the Fisher of Men cross.
So that was really some wonderful art. And everything that we saw on that video, all of it is recycled, found stuff.
That's the whole key to my art, Brother Phil. Is what happens is that in 1999, I was out in a dumpster, and I was walking around the mountains, and I came across an old dump site, and I was kicking cans around, you know, like you do around in the mountains. But then, as I went into this dump site, it got bigger, and then the sun started hitting all these cans and stuff, and I said, something has to be done with this, man. This is beautiful. So I ran across an old dollhouse, and I picked that up thinking, well, I could fix it for my daughters. But it was too rusted, too mangled. So I took it home, and I cut it into strips, 4-inch strips, and then I looked around, and there was a cross that I had made in my workshop. So I got these strips, and it fit perfect on this cross. So I put the strips on a cross, and I looked at the cross, and I called it the dollhouse cross. I said, wow, the dollhouse cross. So then I started thinking, well, what else is there? And I asked the Spirit, this was in 1999, 2000, I asked the Spirit of God to help me to make a cross that would speak. And he's done it ever since. The whole key is that discarded material is a representation of discarded lives.
Yes.
That when God gets a hold of us and he puts us on the cross, he makes something worthwhile out of us. So when you see all this found objects, to me, that's discarded lives, just like my life was. Nobody wanted me, but God wanted me.
Yes.
So he got me and he put me on the cross, and this is where I'm at today. You know, he's just doing all kinds of things in my life.
There was an article that you had shared with me, Taos newspaper. Is that accurate? 1,300 crosses you've made in 7 years?
I made, that was then. This has been on 2000 to 2011, about 1,600 crosses. I make a lot of crosses, brother. Yeah, I make a lot of crosses.
And the woman on the show, that the video we saw, Melissa Surfling, she has a gallery.
She has a gallery in Taos called Red Cat, Meliciana, and she has the majority of my work in Taos. And
how many crosses does she have there?
She has right now she has probably close to 100 crosses, and probably close to 150 pieces.
Yeah.
Because when her and I combined our efforts, something happened. Because she's a junker like I am. I have a 50-mile radius. I live in Taos, Tres Piedras, Truchas. I go 50 miles around and I hit dumps. And if I can find a virgin dump, I'm even more happier. That's a dump that nobody's ever touched, okay? Because that's where all the good stuff is. And I go up in Valdez now, and there was an old rim, the edge they call the cliff, La Ladera. And all the people would throw stuff down there for years, 70 years. So what happened when I came across that dump site, I started picking stuff off the mountain, and the more I picked, the further back in time I go. So I found cars from the 1950s, children's toys. I mean, it's just been amazing. And Melissa, when I went to her house, she had all this stuff laying around all over the place. So I started incorporating it, and I do wall pieces now. 2 by 3, I'm talking 2 feet by 3 feet, 4 by 4s, 6, 7 foot sculptures that are being designed right at this point out of found objects. There was a spirit bird that you saw there, which was made out of the back fender of a truck, and that became the wings of my spirit bird. Okay, these are all mounted on big bottom 2 by 12 construction, timbers, feathers, antlers, and the way that I use it is anytime you have 3, that's a representation of the Father, the Son, the Holy Spirit. I like to give credit where credit is due, and that is to God, because He's the one that is teaching me how to do all this stuff.
And the other thing you had said in that interview was that your art reflected both suffering and love.
Right. A lot of times you have a heart that is cut out, it's broken. It's the broken heart. And that to me is, the sadness of my life, because I see my heart was broken many times. When I would hurt my wife, when I would hurt my children. Even I look back now, the 12 steps, making amends, when I would hurt my employer. Believe it or not, but we get attached to the people that are around us,
yes,
and we don't realize how much we hurt them. And that's why a lot of my art pieces, right now, the Day of the Dead series, that comes out, and those are very humorous. I like my work to be humorous. I like my work for people to see them and start laughing. It makes them laugh. It makes them happy. And that makes me happy. When I see somebody look at one of my pieces and they just start giggling, well, I know it's touched something. It's touched something in there that they're giggling about it,
So where do you store all these crosses? I mean, you must have a warehouse about the size of the studio.
The crosses are being traded, they're being sold, they're being given away. You have to remember, Melissa and I have only been together for a year. I've been doing this since 2000, and I said I made 1,600 crosses. I traded a cross for a 64 Chevy once. I've gotten groceries for another piece of art.
Way cool.
I believe in the barter system,
That works.
Well, the way the economy is nowadays, we got to do whatever it takes. And if somebody will give me a sack of potatoes for a 6-inch cross, I'll take it. You know what I'm saying?
I hear you.
I'll take it, because,
That's beautiful.
And it's been beautiful, and I give a lot away, because we do fundraisers with our music. We do fundraisers for scholarships. I do fundraisers for, I have a, is it okay if I talk about one of my grandchildren,
Go for it.
Yeah, it's Angel Maria. She's the love of our life right now, okay? She was born with 1 kidney, 3 ribs missing,
Wow.
messed up spinal cord, and underdeveloped right leg. When you look at her, she is just amazing. She's smiling, she's happy, she's doing everything that 11-month-year-old baby is doing, but she has all these different physical difficulties with her life.
She doesn't know she's different.
She doesn't. And
No.
when I look at her and she laughs at me and I look at myself and I go, what's wrong with you? Get up, go to work. So, you know, we do fundraisers for her. I have a 4-year-old grandson that was found to be full-blown autistic. So my daughter is moving to Albuquerque within the next 10 days so he can get his schooling. And, you know, we're going to be doing things to help them out. So, you know, I'm really happy with my group, the Blue Heaven group, because these guys, you know, they go out of their way to go and support these events, to help bring in monetary for other people that need it. You know, like you said, it's not a matter of always getting, it's a matter of giving. And when you give with a full heart, no attach, it comes 100-fold.
You gave us the perfect segue. So besides being a minister, you have art, and now you have music. Talk about the band, Blue Heaven. What brought you around to be a musician? Why did you form
Blue
a band?
Heaven, believe it or not, Phil, Blue Heaven started, I started playing music on my own about 15, 16 years ago, okay? And I went to a nursing home in Española, and there was an old elderly man there by the name of Jose. And this elderly man, after I finished playing music for him, I was by myself. I go up to shake his hand and just to greet him and talk to him. And he tells me, "You sound like Blue Heaven."
What a great
And
name.
I'm going,
"Oh, name.
Great, who's Blue Heaven?" And he says, "You are." That's where Blue Heaven was born, by
Beautiful.
this elderly man in a nursing home. He called us Blue Heaven.
So you're going to join your bandmates.
I'm gonna join them now.
Introduce them, and we're going to do a couple of songs, right?
Thank you, Brother Phil.
Thank you.
Thank you.
So the band Blue Heaven is going to be Pablo, who's going to be lead guitar and vocals. He's in the middle. On your far left is going to be Timothy Sanchez. He plays the trumpet. Pablo in the middle. And then on the far right, I guess it depends on which direction you're looking from, is going to be Ralph Martinez, plays bass guitar. And they're going to play 2 songs from their current album, Mis Amigos, My Friends. The first song is number 7 on the album. It's called Tuya Soy. And then the second song will be Since I Met Jesus, which is the second song on the album. So guys, take it away.
polvo nací. Tú me amaste y moriste por mí. Antes la cruz yo solo puedo exclamar. Tuyo soy, tuyo soy, tuyo soy nada más. Toma mis manos, te pido, Señor. Toma mi alma, te alabo, mi Dios. Toma mi vida, mi Padre Santo. Tuyo soy, y sin ti no soy nada. Tuyo soy, tuyo soy, tuyo soy. Tuyo soy nada más. Tuyo soy, tuyo soy, tuyo soy. Y sin ti yo no soy nada. Cuando le roías yo te miro, Señor. Miro tu grandeza, lo pequeño que soy. ¿Qué puedo darte si solo mi ser? Tuyo soy, y sin ti no soy nada. Tuyo soy, tuyo soy, tuyo soy. Tuyo soy nada más. Tuyo soy, y sin ti yo no soy nada. That's translated into English. This song here is, when I sing this song, it goes deep into my heart because it is part of my life. It's called Since I Met Jesus. I met Jesus, my life has changed, and everybody tells me I'm not the same. Since I met Jesus, got the Holy Ghost, I'm telling everybody from coast to coast. Don't need nobody. I don't need nobody. Till my troubles turn. I don't need nobody. I don't need nobody. All I need is you. I'm on my way now to heaven above. I'm shouting hallelujah to the one I love. I won't go empty-handed. Please come with me. I'm on my way to heaven to share victory. Nobody.
Beautiful. Thank you.
Thank you.
You guys are going to play another song to take us out. Why don't you stay there? But before you even start, I'm going to make a couple announcements. Why don't you make an announcement first? You've got a show coming up and you're in a gallery. Let people know what that's all about.
Yes, this weekend we have Santa Fe Recycled. 3 days, Friday, Saturday, and Sunday at El Museo, right there at the rail yards. Please come. It's going to be Friday from 5 to 9, Saturday all day, and Sunday all day. I also have my art represented at Silver Sun Gallery on Canyon Road here in Santa Fe. Please come by and take a look at my art there. And I just want to thank everybody for taking interest in what God is doing in my life. And if I can help anybody with anything, don't hesitate to call. We're known as Blue Heaven. My name is Pablo Flores. I have a heart for the down and outs. I have a heart for the souls that are lost. If you need to contact me for any reason, don't hesitate. Thank you.
Give me 2 minutes to make a couple of announcements, then we'll go out with the song. Okay. Thank you all for watching us. I want to let you know this is public access television, and you are the public. So we want you to be involved with us. Call us, let us know what shows you'd like to hear, what shows you'd like to see. Maybe you have a show that you'd like to do with me. Give me a call. I'd love to talk to you. Also want to let you know that I do spiritual counseling, and it combines spirit with a little bit of traditional counseling methods. I am a state licensed counselor besides being a minister. I firmly believe that without a spiritual component, we don't have any healing. And I work with everybody with what you bring. I'm not here to recruit you. My ministry is not about putting people in seats. It's about helping you heal. So if there's anything in your life that's troubling you, we're having a hard time with it, give me a call. Don't worry about money if you don't have. I work on a donation basis, and part of that is some people don't have money to donate. These are hard times. That doesn't mean you can't get help, doesn't mean you can't heal. So if there's something going on, my info has been flashing on the screen and will roll at the end. Contact me. Next week, we're going to have another amazing show. Not quite as entertaining as this one, but definitely very informative. Those of you who've been with me for a while remember Shubraji. She's going to be on, and we are going to talk about love and spirituality. So until next week, know that you are blessed, you are one with the divine. Walk in love and light. And we're going to go out with Blue Heaven playing Open the Eyes of My Heart. Guys, take it away.
Thank you, Brother Phil. This next song is going to be in our new release that we're releasing in January 2012. We have CDs for sale. Blue Heaven, Mis Amigos. You can contact the number there on the screen. And I want to thank everybody again. And let's open our eyes. Open the eyes of my heart, Lord. Open the eyes of my heart, Lord. Open the eyes of my heart. I want to see you. I want to see you. Open the eyes of my heart, Lord. Open the eyes of my heart. I want to see you. I want to see you. See you high and lifted up, shining in the light of your glory. Pour out your power and love as we sing holy, holy. We sing holy, holy. I want to singing.
I'm Reverend Phil, and I've been your host for Words of the Prophets. Thank you for tuning in. Please join me again next week, same time, same channel, for more Words of the Prophets.